visualize what it is you're trying to achieve. Visualize in the sense that if your goal is, let's say, to retire in a warm climate area, right? Somewhere in the Carolinas, and you can visualize yourself sitting there outside on a nice warm summer day, feeling the breeze, maybe smelling the crisp air, tasting a nice glass of lemonade, right? The more real you make it, studies have shown the better the odds of you actually achieving that goal.
Are you ready for a successful retirement? We're addressing the topics facing today's retirees. Welcome to Retire with Ryan. Now here's your host, Ryan Morrissey.
Welcome back. This week, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about how to achieve your New Year's resolutions. If you're like myself, a lot of people, you probably have already forgotten about your New Year's resolutions, but we're just a little over a month past the beginning of the year, so there's still time to get yourself back on track to achieving those resolutions if maybe moved away from them, or if you never set any to begin with or have other goals you're trying to achieve. I'm going to give you a 4-step process on how to set yourself up to be able to achieve those resolutions and those goals. And the first step is, as corny as this sounds, and believe me, I think at times it sounds corny, is to visualize what it is you're trying to achieve. Visualize in the sense that if your goal is, let's say, to retire in a warm climate area, right? Somewhere in the Carolinas, and you can visualize yourself sitting there outside on a nice warm summer day, feeling the breeze, maybe smelling the crisp air, tasting a nice glass of lemonade, right? The more real you make it, studies have shown the better the odds of you actually achieving that goal. I was on a webinar recently by an author. His name is Dr. Brad Klontz. He's written a book, Mind Over Money. And the long and short of this webinar was that he conducted a study where he invited people to come to a hotel in different locations. I think he did this in 4 cities. And Group A went into one room and Group B went into the other room. In Group A, they listened to financial education for 2 hours, right? Someone like myself talked to them about different types of accounts they can set up, the different strategies, budgeting, etc. Group 2 went through a visualization exercise where they created vision boards for themselves. They were given glue, scissors, lots of magazines, and they created a vision board of what it is, the goals that they wanted to achieve. And they then went back and studied these groups and found that Group A had an increase in their savings rate, which was very good. And they increased their savings rate by a couple percent, which I think was excellent. But they found that Group B, on average, increased their savings rate by almost double. They almost doubled the amount of money that they were saving. And that speaks to visualization in the sense that the more real that we make it, the more we can clarify specifically what it is that we want to achieve, the better our odds of doing that. And I can even attest for myself, when I've set goals, the more real that I make them, the more likelihood that the more instance I've had of actually sticking to them. Once you've visualized what it is that you want to achieve, now you need to get that goal written down and identify what it is that you want to achieve. So if it's, let's say, retiring to a nice warm climate or retiring in general, well, what is that going to cost you, right? Quantifying that into a dollar amount. So that's where step 2 would come in. And that would be setting those specific goals and doing it in a way that is measurable. So you might have heard the acronym of a SMAC goal, acronym, I should say, SMAC, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, and it could either be compatible or challenging depending upon how you want to address this goal. So specific in the sense of what we were talking about, that it's a specific thing, like if it's a financial goal, quantifying what that amount is, and then how are you going to measure it? Is it you're trying to grow your savings by maybe 10%, 20%? Maybe you're trying to pay off a certain amount of debt in a certain amount of time. Maybe you're trying to save up for a second home. Next would be A, which stands for achievable, meaning that this has to be something that you can actually achieve. If you set a goal for yourself that's so far out of reach, then chances are you're going to give up before you even begin. So if it's an incremental change that you could make, meaning let's say you're trying to save $500,000 or $1 million before you retire, well, that's realistic. But if your goal is to save $10 million, well, that might not be achievable. So make sure that it's something that you could achieve. And lastly, the C part, which stands for either compatible, meaning that it fits into your lifestyle, that it will work well with other things that you're doing, or it could be challenging, something that is really a major shift in what you're doing. Maybe you're making a major change to your lifestyle and you're going to drastically change what you're doing. And sometimes a drastic change is actually needed because if you're going down a certain path and you keep getting the same results, as someone once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing but expecting something different, then maybe you do need to make something different, such as if your goal is maybe paying down debt, maybe you need to do something drastic, such as getting rid of all your credit cards, maybe putting them, locking them up somewhere, putting them out of reach and moving to a cash system where you pay cash for everything. There's been a lot of people that have had success with eliminating debt that way because when we use our credit card, our debit card, we're not really cognizant of what we're spending. It's hard to track. But if you have to reach into your pocket every time you spend money, then you're going to know very quickly how much is left over if you only budget a certain amount each month for yourself for groceries, out-of-pocket expenses versus the essential. Next is that you need to put a plan in place and automate as much of that plan as possible. So put a plan in place in the sense that once you've identified what this goal is, right, you've set out the SMAC, the SMAC part of it, how are you going to get there? If your goal is retirement and you've determined the amount of money that you need to be able to retire, then you need to back into how you get there. Do you need to save a certain amount of money each paycheck? Do you need to break it down on a quarterly basis, annual basis, whatever's easiest for you, but definitely breaking these goals down into smaller increments, making them more bite-sized, I say is going to make it more attainable. And wherever possible, automate your life. If every time you receive a paycheck, a certain amount of money is taken out of that paycheck for savings, set aside for whatever goal you have, that money right away has come out of your pocket and it's harder for you to spend that money. So automating this as much as possible. And there's a lot of apps out there where it can help you to achieving those goals as far as tracking your progress. I don't have any good recommendations, but if this was a workout goal, right? If your goal was to lose a certain amount of weight, that's a popular goal for a lot of people at the beginning of the year. Just saying that is usually not going to get you to that point. You need to come up with a plan. And maybe part of that plan is just scheduling when it is you're going to go to the gym, right? Fitting that into your schedule and getting there. That's going to make it a lot more achievable. Another thing is that I'm talking about these as being goals that you set at the beginning of the year, New Year's resolution type goals, but you don't have to wait until the year's over or towards the end of the year to set a goal. You could be setting quarterly goals for yourself, and that's probably also a good idea, that each quarter you have a certain goal for yourself that you're trying to achieve, and this way it keeps the goals shorter term goals so that you're more likely to stay on top of them and track them. And then in addition to that, you can set more long-term goals that maybe you break down into shorter term increments. Because in a short term, it might be hard to get a lot done, but when you look back over a number of years, you can be amazed at the things that you can accomplish if you break those longer term goals down into shorter term goals. And lastly would be number 4 would be holding yourself accountable and having some skin in the game. And this could be just having a friend or a trusted advisor who's going to hold you accountable and is going to sit down with you every so often, maybe once a month, once a quarter, and see where you're at, and then maybe instituting some penalties in place if you're not able to achieve this goal. Maybe one of those penalties is that you have to make a financial contribution to the opposite political party, right? If you're a Democrat, then you have to donate to the Republican Party. If you're a Republican, you have to donate to the Democrats. Or maybe it's that if you don't achieve the goal, owe your friend a certain amount of money, or you have to take them out to dinner. Whatever it is, you need to have something holding you to account for not actually following through on this, because a lot of us find that we set these goals and maybe we get started on them, but then we don't actually accomplish them because there's no accountability, right? In our jobs at work, right, we're accountable in the sense that if we don't do what we're supposed to, we could be fired, right? That's a forcing mechanism, but maybe you need another forcing mechanism in there that's going to keep you accountable. I hope that is helpful for you to achieving your financial resolutions for 2021. And as a reminder, if you don't have a plan for retirement, or if you feel like your plan for retirement is not as good as it should be, please attend one of my online webinars. My retirement readiness workshops are beginning the end of February. Starting February 25th, you can sign up. There's a few different dates and times that you can choose from. And the nice thing with COVID right now is that these are all being done virtually, so you can attend right from the comfort of your home. And also, if you do have any additional topics or questions about things that we've talked about, you can always go to my website, retirewithryan.com, and you can fill out the contact form and you can ask your question, or you can put in requests for additional topics to cover in 2021. So I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I look forward to talking to you next Wednesday. Take care.
You should consult a financial advisor familiar with your specific circumstances before you make any financial decisions. Nothing in this broadcast constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mention of rates of return are historical or hypothetical in nature and are not a guarantee of future returns. Ryan Morrissey, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Morrissey Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.